Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk about a key concept that is important to nearly every part of the broad topic of environmental communication. That topic is transition discourse. In communication studies, the term discourse refers to the way we use language. Discourses aren't just words or sentences, but rather whole patterns of communication that construct our shared social reality. You might say that discourses are like pieces of our worldviews. Basically, a discourse is an approach to a particular topic within a particular community. As an example of a discourse, think about the ways the media or politicians talk about immigration. Politicians could describe immigration in a variety of ways as a crisis, a threat, an opportunity, and so on. These are three different examples of immigration discourses. Framing something as a threat is very different from framing it as an opportunity. Notice how the way we frame something directs our thinking about that thing. The discourses we use shape everything about the way we understand the thing under discussion, from whether it's positive or negative to the kinds of actions that might be appropriate for addressing it. It is important to understand discourses because they reveal why people with seemingly similar concerns might propose vastly different or even conflicting solutions. Transition discourses come up in environmental communication in the context of sustainability. The general idea is that the world, as we've currently built it, is unsustainable, and this has put us on a path to all kinds of difficulties. So, to avoid those difficulties, society needs to change in some major way. Transition discourses provide a framework for approaching the questions that arise from this premise. Questions like, in what ways does society need to transition to become more sustainable, and how do we do it? Different people, groups, and communities have their own ways of talking and thinking about these questions. The various keywords, conversations, and debates in those communities can be referred to as the discourse of that community. Note that all communication is inherently persuasive. Sometimes people try to persuade through logical argument, but sometimes people try to persuade through inspiration or through leading by example. The reading for this module is a 2017 article by Joshua Lockyer of Arkansas Tech University titled Community, Commons, and Degrowth at Dancing Rabbit Eco Village. This article examines three transition discourses at a place called Dancing Rabbit. We'll talk more about Dancing Rabbit in a minute. Lockyer cites another researcher, Arturo Escobar, who defined transition discourses as paradigmatic calls for civilizational transformation manifested in a variety of grassroots actions and arising from recognition of the injustice and unsustainability of predominant sociocultural configurations. He argues that we need to, quote, step out of existing institutional and epistemic boundaries if we truly want to envision the worlds and practices capable of bringing about significant transformations. Another term for transition discourses might be transition narratives, because these are the stories we tell about the present and the future to try to understand them. We can think of transition discourses as counter-narratives to ideologies that promote the spread of growth-based industrial consumer capitalism. Many transition discourses have been studied. Here are just a few well-known transition discourses in sustainability. Some TDs, like the ones we'll read about this week, challenge growth and modernity. These include degrowth, intentional communities and eco-villages, and social ecology. Degrowth critiques economic growth as unsustainable and unjust, and instead promotes the ideas of sufficiency, care, and conviviality. Intentional communities, NS eco-villages, are small-scale living experiments in sustainability, autonomy, and social innovation. And social ecology is a decentralist, anti-hierarchical approach to ecological society. Other TDs you may have heard about seek to transform socioeconomic models, such as circular economy, just transition, and steady-state economy. Circular economy focuses on designing out waste, keeping materials in use, and on regenerative systems. Just transition involves state-led, equity-oriented programs linking climate action with jobs and justice. In U.S. political discourse, this includes things like the Green New Deal, and steady-state economy considers how the economy might function within ecological limits. And some TDs focus on city planning and technology, such as sustainable development, smart cities, and geoengineering and climate tech. Sustainable development balances economic, social, and environmental goals. Smart cities involve data driven urban management for efficiency and resource savings. And geoengineering or climate tech usually refers to large scale technological interventions to mitigate climate change. Okay, let's pick one transition discourse and take a closer look at it. One center for transition discourse that interests me personally is the eco village. An eco village is a community whose inhabitants seek to live in a way that has minimal impact on the environment. I have visited several eco villages in my life, and the one I'd like to focus on here is Dancing Rabbit in Missouri. Dancing Rabbit is an intentional community that has operated continually since 1997 on 280 acres in northeastern Missouri. They have around 50 residents and envision eventually having around 500. Dancing Rabbit describes itself quote, an intentional community and demonstration project, experimenting our way toward a vision of ecologically sustainable living while supporting one another and celebrating the everyday joys of a rural life on the prairie. From the quote we just looked at, we can start to build a list of keywords that are part of Dancing Rabbit's transition discourse or narrative. Terms like demonstration project and ecologically sustainable living. Let's take a look at the first paragraph on their website's About page. For those of you listening to the audio of this lecture, there's a link to the About page here in the transcript. Here's the paragraph. Listen for key terms. At Dancing Rabbit Eco Village, we understand how difficult it can be to live sustainably and responsibly within modern U.S. culture. We believe that we can work to build a healthy alternative, a social structure that is both non-exploitative and vibrant. As our village grows, we see this ideal take shape more clearly every day, a diverse range of people living ecologically sound lives in a community that truly serves as an example of positive human action within the natural world. With this paragraph, we can get a strong sense of what eco-villages are about. The stories that eco-villages tell always paint a contrast between modern U.S. culture and the eco-village's healthy alternative. The eco-village presents itself as a positive example of the good life, or, to use the first quote, a demonstration project. There are many keywords we could unpack, from non-exploitative to ecologically sound. Discourse analysis is all about identifying and unpacking the meaning of keywords. If we read further on their website, we will find discussion of topics like organic permaculture gardening, natural buildings, alternative energy, inner sustainability, and self-governance. The members who live there also agree to specific ecological covenants and sustainability guidelines, which we can find on their website and posted on the wall in their common house. As communication scholars, we are interested in the stories people tell about themselves. As environmental communication scholars, we are interested in the stories people tell about themselves and their surroundings, their environment, and their place in it. I have written elsewhere, link in transcript, about the discourses of intentional communities in general. But in this class, I am interested in Dancing Rabbit specifically as a site of sustainable transition discourses. We can identify DR's thoughts on societal transition by looking at what they say about social change. Their About page continues. In addition to being a wonderful home for us, DR is a model for social change. Outreach and education are integral to our mission. When I visited Dancing Rabbit in 2024 and again in 2025, I saw this firsthand. I am reminded that there's a quote attributed to Mahatma Gandhi that says, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And also there's a quote by Leo Tolstoy that says, "Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself." Well, when it comes to sustainability at Dancing Rabbit, they really are trying to change themselves by collectively committing to their experiments with sustainability lifestyles. And they really are trying to change the world through their educational materials and through the model of their communal life, which people from far and wide come to visit to draw inspiration from. In conclusion, there are many forms of transition discourse in environmental communication. Every person, group, or organization that sees itself as carrying a torch and lighting the way for others to follow in terms of lifestyle change and/or society change, from less sustainable to more sustainable, is participating in one or more transition discourses.